Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we be nurtured together, may we be nourished together, may we strive together, may our learning shine, may we not quarrel. Peace. Today is going to be about clarification of two things. One, how a wise person does not speak. That is, the psychology of a wise person, which is not. And the psychology of a wise person, which is. The reason for this is to get a clear understanding of what is a direct experience. It's called anubhuti of a wise person, so that we have a distinction and we can have some kind of a gauge or barometer. Where are you at personally? And also common mistakes that happen even in the Vedic world of being exposed to this. And the reason for this is you have something to base on and draw from so that they don't occur by accident. Because it's very easy when we gain knowledge, then we can start, subtle arrogance can pop in, ego arrogance, and starts to say things like, now I am Brahman and everything else is illusion, everything else is just change, and that's just the world. So that's not the point. And because when we say Sarvam Brahmaha, everything is one, what that really means is there's a direct knowledge that nothing can be rejected or denied, because one means nothing's actually two. So there's no two-ness here. That's what Advaita means. So any kind of rejection or pushing away or denial is that subtle mistake that the knowledge of Vedanta hasn't been firmly established yet. So we're here to clarify exactly what those subtle mistakes are. And we're going to start by giving you an order of the smallest according to... See, there is no hierarchy, let's get that straight, because hierarchy now implies stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and different orders of reality. It doesn't work like that. Everything's just instant. Everything just pops. One example of this is when you begin to dream, right? When you find yourself in a dream, do you suddenly see how the dream builds up slowly, little by little? Or do you just find yourself right in the middle of a storyline? Yeah. You see, there's no first here, so we cannot say who came first, the chicken or the egg, or the father or the son, because there is no father without the son, or the son without the father. So that's the linear mind trying to put a start to things, but there is no start to things. Yeah. So the order that we're going to do and go over is the smallest from the microcosm, and I'm going to increase that to the macrocosm. And I've started here with modifications. So modifications, this entire bubble, is anything that changes. Basically, mithya, the variable, the changing. So let's see now what is inside this bubble. We're going to start from, you can say even smaller than quarks are bosons and then God particle, but I've just started from quarks. So we start from quarks in terms of, quote, hierarchy of creation. And we go a little bit bigger than quarks, and we have particles. Okay? And then after particles, we have, for example, subatomic particles. They're coming together and they form...
Is that quarks or quartz?
Quarks, yeah. Is that the wrong spelling?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have atoms. Okay? And then atoms combine and they create molecules. For example, the molecule of water is 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. And then after molecules, we have cells. It could be cells of a plant, it could be cells of an animal or a human being. For now, in this example, we'll stick to the human being. And then we have those combinations of cells create limbs. A limb of an arm, a limb of a neck, a limb of the toes, everything is now then put together to finally create what we call a human being, which is of the 5 koshas, or the 3 bodies, which we already went over.
Would kosha translate as sense, 5 senses? Is that what it would be?
5 koshas is the five sheets, the 5 layers,
Oh, 5 layers, that's
which
right.
pancha kosha, which comprise the human being.
Yep.
So does anyone remember what the 5 layers are? Actually, let's go over them together. We start with the annamaya kosha, the physical.
Yep.
And then we go into the pranamaya kosha, prana.
Right.
And then we go into manomaya kosha, mind. And then vijnanamaya kosha, that's the intellect.
Yep.
And then we go into anandamaya kosha, that's the bliss sheath or the causal body. So when I speak of the 5 koshas, that's what I'm talking about. So that basically means, for a revision, that every kosha has a function. And every function serves the completion of a human body, a human thought system. Okay. So then, the cause of the 5 koshas is the 5 elements. So what we could say is, starting from the top, the cause of quarks is particles, subatomic particles. The cause of subatomic particles is atoms. The cause of atoms is molecules. The cause of molecules is cells. Cause of cells is limbs. Cause of limbs is the 5 koshas. You can also do it the other way. You can say that quarks cause particles. Particles cause atoms, atoms cause molecules, and so on. Because see, we cannot just go one way. That's the thing about non-dual, is that going one way, what about the other way? So you have to look at it from both angles. Yeah. Okay, so now we have the 5 elements. So that means the 5 elements are here: space, air, fire, water, earth. And they create the vikaraha. Vikaraha, which we will use often, is modification. It means form. So anything that is changing, or any obstacle or any object that is able to modify itself, that's called a vikaraha. Okay. So now we say that the cause of the 5 elements is Ishwara. Ishwara just means cause. Because when we get to the 3 bodies, you could say that the 3 bodies, we talked about the 3 bodies of the human being, but the 3 bodies, there's also of the macrocosm. Ishwara, cause, Hiranyagarbha, that's the subtle body, and then Virat, that's the gross body of the macrocosm. So just like a human being has 3 bodies, the gross, the subtle, and the causal, so does Ishwara. So does the macrocosm. Why? Because we just said at the beginning, nothing is 2 here. See, there is no different reality that is somehow different on a macrocosm and different on a microcosm. The microcosm replicates the macro, and the macro replicates the micro. You see the sameness there?
Like inside and outside.
That's right. That's right. So that's why we can tell everything that's true on the microcosm is also true at the macrocosm. If we say it's false, then that pretty much refutes the entire Upanishads, because then we're implicitly saying that reality is dualistic, that there is somehow an existence, a God existence, that is different from a human existence. So that's, once again, the linear mind trying to categorize things. But we have to get rid of this idea that there is a hierarchy. So for the sake of getting rid of that, we ironically go through a hierarchy just to see to help the mind, because that's how the mind thinks. So the cause of 5 elements is Ishwara. Now, I said Ishwara is cause. Now, you could say, what is Ishwara besides cause? The answer to that is all knowledge and all power. So let's say it all together, because we're going to use this often as I go into the Chandogya Upanishad a little bit later. Ishwara is all knowledge and all power. Ishwara is all knowledge and all power. Now think about what this means, because let's not just say it, let's see what it actually means. Let's just say your body, for example, is Ishwara when you're dreaming. Because think about your dream. You're like a mini Ishwara while the dream's occurring. Because think about a dream. A dream is made up of what? What's the material of your dream at night? What is a dream?
Subconsciousness.
Oh, yeah, correct.
Is subconsciousness or consciousness?
The subtle body. So the subconscious is the causal. It's actually that's the incorrect answer because subconscious is the causal. It comes from the subtle body. Okay, so I'm going to ask again. Where does a dream come from? Because remember, it's your dream, right? It comes from you. Uh-huh. So call it whatever you want. It still comes from you. It doesn't come from somebody else's. You dream your thoughts related to your life. And also the things that are here relatable in this world are also carried over into the dream. So that means the material of what the dream is of is made out of what? You. Where else does it come from? If you don't dream, if you don't dream, there's no dream, is there? And what else is present in the dream? Stories, right? There's intelligence in the dream, right? There's order to the dream. It's a little fluid, but it's still an order. You still recognize things. So that is intelligence. So where does that intelligence come from? Once again, it comes from? Yeah, it comes from you. So two things. There is a material of the dream, and there is, you understand, material now? We're quite clear. And there is also intelligence. And both the material and the intelligence come from the dreamer, the mini Ishwara, lying in bed. Now, what did I say just a few minutes ago? The microcosm replicates the macrocosm. Similarly, Ishwara is all knowledge and all power, meaning that all of these little bodies, these objects, every experience you have is just like the same as the characters in your own dream. Now, who's dreaming your dream? You are. And those characters in the dream are all what? Discussing, arguing who's right and who's wrong. And they're fighting and they're trying to figure out what the truth is. But of what are all of those characters in the dream of? You. You see? So similarly, we could say that Ishwara is all knowledge and all power. And all of these bodies and these minds contained are little mini Ishwaras, little mini bodies inside the big body of Ishwara. You see? So that means Ishwara means what? Everything that you experience. Every experience, every knowledge, everything that occurs is just a totality within Ishwara.
It's like the nerve endings, each of the little instruments is the nerve endings of the greater Ishwara.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So all knowledge and all power, are we now clear what that means? Okay, so now Ishwara, remember Ishwara, we're talking Mithya level, right? Okay? Ishwara is all Mithya level underneath the line. Underneath this line. Now, Ishwara has another cause. Because remember, we said that Ishwara causes the five elements. The five elements cause the body, the mind. The body-mind causes the limbs, cells, molecules, and so on, and also backwards. Now, what causes Ishwara? What causes the whole, what makes possibility for the entire creation? Yeah, consciousness. See, when we say Maya simply means the potential to dream, the potential to create, not yet manifest. When that manifest is manifest, when that dream is finally manifest, we call that Ishwara. You understand? So that means Brahman or consciousness is just pure consciousness. In that pure consciousness, there is a power. This power to all knowledge and all power. So in consciousness, there's a power, and that power is all knowledge and all power. When that power is in potential, not manifest, we call that Maya. When that power, all knowledge and all power, is manifest, and this happens, we call that Ishwara. Okay, so that means that all knowledge and all power has another cause. We're talking about Ishwara now. And that...
Can I just stop for a second? The difference between Maya being potential and
Yeah.
Ishwara being manifest.
Yeah.
Are you calling a thought as a manifestation, or has it become something physically
No.
solid?
No, Maya is only applicable to when there is no creation. That we can say that's the, when the universe comes back into nothing. That's just potential. Ishwara applies when there's when it's manifest. Now, you could say that, what about when there is an unmanifest in Ishwara? Is that Maya?
No.
No, good. That's just unmanifest. That's in potential of Ishwara. That's all power and all knowledge, which is manifest, but it's in potential to manifest all knowledge and all power. So Maya only applies when everything recedes back into just consciousness. Okay, just to get that clear, because we can't interchange these words, Maya and Ishwara. We need to clarify.
Consciousness is in the state of no thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's you. It's that which is aware. Yeah. So there is a cause of Ishwara, and that cause is consciousness, which inheres in vikaraha. Vikaraha means what? Modification. We're going to use this word often. Vikaraha means... So in other words, the cause of Ishwara is consciousness, which inheres means is inherent in or pervades the entire cloud. You see that? So everything that's inside this cloud, that is modifications, is pervaded or is consciousness inheres in. And who is that consciousness? See, there's even a body there, the five koshas. So that means that consciousness, which inheres in every single object, whether it's the smallest of the smallest or the biggest of the biggest, consciousness inheres in that also. So what does that mean in terms of right now, this experience? That means that consciousness is also present now.
Yeah.
You see? So that means, obviously the question comes now, well, where do I find consciousness?
It's inherent in everything.
Yeah, because see, so what does that mean in moksha? See, the problem is we think moksha is something like in the future. But consciousness inheres everywhere all the time. So that means that means consciousness is already here, right now. How do you detect it? How do you know what it is? As the self-evident I. The answer is very simple. Like that, not even the I am, but the knower of the I am. The knower that somebody claimed the I am. See, it's the non-verbalized knower of the verbalized intellect saying I am. You understand? So that means that, once again, consciousness, because it inheres in every modification, you cannot find a place where it's not found. It's always available. Because if it inheres all the time, that means it has to be available right now, no matter when. That means there's no need to search for it in the mountains or in books or some other courses. It's available in you, as you.
So me, I know me is an I am, and I know you is an I am.
Yeah.
Through the perception of me as an I am.
Yeah.
If me as an I am dies,
yeah.
does that mean that you as an I am disappear with that?
So, see, did you say the I am? That I am is consciousness.
Yeah.
So, see, there's one body here. It's called Martin. Now, there's 7 billion other bodies called Martin. Okay, different names, right? So that means when Martin's body dies, has consciousness been touched? No. So that means the I am is still looking through 6 billion other eyes when one body dies. And how is that? See, you can't even ask what's the experience of that I am, because you're already experiencing the I am. You're never not the I am. And how do you know you're the I am? Because you exist.
This I am that I'm experiencing right now, if this was to die, I would immediately be an I am somewhere else. And so I'd still be experiencing the consciousness.
But see, the I am, consciousness is already everywhere.
Yeah.
So there is no, it goes somewhere else.
So I'm thinking of the limitation of the I am that I experience through where I'm sitting now.
Yeah.
And how that would
that this body, mind, is now experiencing.
Is that the mutable or the changeable variable in terms of how, if this particular version of the I am goes away,
nothing happens.
Through death, then the perception of the I am is just coming from a different nerve ending somewhere else. Is that a way of seeing it? Or?
No. That's because there's only you here. See, there's only, when I say you, there's only consciousness here. It's almost like there's one body. It's like somebody dies now, right? And the rest of us are watching. And that person, before they died, were afraid that they're going to go out of existence. That the I am is still looking at another body.
Yeah.
You see? So nothing changed. Nothing. Because the I am is all pervasive. It's just another body that once the body appears, it gets pervaded by consciousness, and then it also takes on an identity and says, I am.
That's right.
You know? And then body goes, what's changed? There's so many other bodies. There's the universe, there's plants, there's animals.
Well, even a rock, I guess, is an I am in that respect, isn't it?
Well, when we say I am, you see, when you say I am, you need a subtle body to even say that. You need a reflector, a reflecting medium.
Right.
And you need the senses to even, and you need a body to go, oh, there's a sense of I am. And that's the ego. So rock cannot say I am. You see? That's why a human being has a privilege to call it a subtle body to reflect that consciousness.
Anything with life can have that. Is that
everything is consciousness already because it's pervaded by consciousness. But a rock or a tree doesn't know about itself because it doesn't have the senses and a subtle body, like a human being. Okay. So now we can come to a statement and make a concluding statement about this teaching and say, well, that's how not to say it. Okay. I am, therefore, the truth of Ishwara. What's wrong with that statement? I am, because we're talking about the I am consciousness, the truth of Ishwara. See, if we say I am the truth of Ishwara, there's a problem there. It's like, I'm bigger. See, even to say I am the truth, there still needs to be a body, a mind, which is given to me by Ishwara. So we cannot say I am the truth of Ishwara, because unless you understand directly what that means, but it's very hard to even say that, because there's sort of a like, how can you be bigger than Ishwara? It's just Ishwara is like what's giving you the body, what's giving you the mind to make these statements. So it's just an utter humble gratitude to Ishwara. Thank you for giving me this body. There's not even the thought occurring, I am bigger than Ishwara. Because then it makes the body or the person bigger than Ishwara. You understand? See, a person cannot say, when I say I am bigger than Ishwara, a person cannot say that. You can say that, but unless you know what that means. But if you just go on saying I am Ishwara, I'm bigger than Ishwara, then think about what that is. It's a subtle, arrogant ego. So we don't say that. What we say is I and Ishwara enjoy the same truth. See the difference? I and Ishwara enjoy the same truth consciousness. See the conversion from a dualistic point of view? I am bigger than Ishwara. I am different from Ishwara, and therefore I am bigger. You see that error that people create? That going on about non-dual and then going I am bigger or I am the boss. I am the boss of the whole creation.
I am separate too.
Yeah. It's technically they're saying I am separate. So we have to be careful how we even use our language, because subtle thoughts like this can suddenly grow and we start to have this wrong idea about what non-dual means. Because see, if you're at one wave, how can you say I'm bigger than the water? There's no logic there. Everything is water. So it's more like I appreciate myself as who I am, which is the water. Equally so, I appreciate everything else as water, which is also who I am.
That's the way.
Yeah, so therefore I and Ishwara enjoy the same truth. Okay, so now let's put this in another way. We're going to say the truth of Ishwara. When I say Ishwara, I'm talking about Mithya. The truth of Ishwara is consciousness. We just established that. Okay? So what we just said is the truth of Ishwara is consciousness. Remember, the truth of this jumper is the wall. That's right, because it pervades the wall. Very simple. And that consciousness is present as I said, the self-evident I. See, this is why I said from the beginning that moksha is easier than 1 + 1. Because even to know what 1 + 1, you still need to be, like rational. You still have to learn how to... At one point, we didn't know what plus meant. We had to learn that. But what we didn't need to learn is the sense of existence, just your existence. Nobody has to teach you. You just know that you exist. That existence is that self-evident I called Atman. See? That's why I say it's easier than anything else. Because even if a tiger, is present, we totally forget about what we know. No matter how much education you've got about whatever it is, you totally forget what it is that you know and you run. But what you don't forget, and you cannot forget, is your sense of existence running. Your sense of existence calculating. Your sense of existence trying to figure it out. Sense of existence getting it. Sense of existence losing it. There's always that existence present, and yet all of the forms, vikara, modifications, are always coming and going. That's why it's present as the self-evident I. Okay, so that means that whatever modification means mithya, whatever modification you see, when are you not seeing modifications? Exactly. Whatever modification you see, there is Ishwara. Because remember, this entire bubble is caused by Ishwara. So whatever change you see is caused by Ishwara. In other words, wherever there is form, like your body, your mind, your intellect, everything's form. Thoughts, inside, outside, objects, everything's form. Wherever there is form, there is Ishwara. Because Ishwara is the cause. Did you create your body? No. Who? See, isn't it funny? If we as human beings, we actually study nature. We study what's given to us. We study what's offered. We don't create and then we go, oh, here's someone else who can study. We actually try to study what's given. Who has caused these things that we're studying? Ishwara.
So you could say that no thing is Ishwara. Like no thing is Ishwara.
What does no thing mean?
Nothing. Nothing is Ishwara? Is
all knowledge, no, we'll just stick to the original words. All knowledge and all power.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So wherever there is form, there is Ishwara, which is all knowledge and all power. And Ishwara is, in manifest, constantly modifying. That's why we have it's from one state to the next. That simply means it's true now, but 1 second later, it's not there anymore. It's a different, takes on a different quality, a different attribute, a different color, shape, text, form, whatever it is. You know this from your own experience. Your experience is constantly changing. Yeah, that's all knowledge and all power in operation. And so the truth of Ishwara is consciousness. You see the language that I'm using? I'm not going, you're the boss and you're Brahman and Ishwara is just this little, thing that offers you this body and you've got to stand, in your awareness. That's easy to say, but there's so much more to this. Otherwise, this languaging can trick us and we end up in another dualistic form of version of reality. That's why we're giving you this precise order of the words. Okay. So the truth of Ishwara is consciousness, Brahman, awareness. These are all synonymous words. At that point, there is no change. That's the only, quote, place. It's not a place. That's the only principle which has no modification. That means Ishwara and this entire bubble, all of this is a modification. And the only principle which doesn't modify is consciousness. That's why all of the changes are known. as I said last time, you need to have a non-moving, non-modifying principle in order to tell about the modifying principle. Okay. So now let's cover some mistakes.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
I don't quite get what you mean by the truth of Ishwara is consciousness. Do you mean...
The nature of Ishwara is consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah. See, the reason I use the word truth is you can use essence for nature. The nature of Ishwara. You like that word better?
But it's easier to grapple with, I think.
Yeah. I'm using specifically the words exactly as passed to me by the teachers. The truth of Ishwara is consciousness. Yeah. So that means the nature that causes Ishwara. That means, so if the truth of Ishwara is consciousness, then what's the truth of this jumper? Yeah. You understand? So the jumper is form.
Yeah.
Okay? Vikaraha, modification. Now, what causes the form? What gives this form possibility to exist? The wool.
So another way of saying it is that everything is consciousness?
Everything is consciousness. Now, here's a question. What gives this modification the power to turn from one shape into the next? Because see, we have a little problem now. If I just say Ishwara is form, then it's just static. But what gives it intelligence to turn into, let's say, gloves? Or to turn into a different... a scarf, right? What gives it that intelligence? That's why I said all power and all knowledge. You see? So there has to be some principle which says, okay, we have consciousness, it's here. We have form, it's present. But how do we now, what principle, because consciousness can't do it. Consciousness is not intelligence. Consciousness is just consciousness. It's just awareness. So what principle says, okay, jumper, turn into a scarf? What principle does that? Ishwara. That means there is intelligence. Think about it this way. We're going to get to this. At a level, okay, for example, let's take a molecule, water molecule, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. Now, who even said it's going to be that combination? Because you put just 1 oxygen, it's not water anymore. And who even said it's going to be 11% hydrogen and 88% oxygen? Did you know that? So the entire molecule, despite it having despite it having 2 hydrogen atoms, the totality that it constitutes, it's only 11%. And water, despite 1 atom of oxygen, constitutes 88%. Who gives this exact combo? You see? So that's what we mean by intelligence. And if you inquire and look at the entire world, it's just full of... Who says that I'm going to take atoms and I'm going to put them in such a form that's to create a rock and not a tree? They're the same atoms. That's what we mean by intelligence. Okay, let's see what moksha... Moksha just means freedom. What moksha is not. Moksha is not exhausting, just bear with me, is not exhausting samskaras or vasanas. It's a big mistake. In Vedanta, we think it's all about just exhaust your vasanas, exhaust your samskaras. I'll tell you where the yes and the no is. First of all, the exhausting of samskaras should be done mainly, and are done mainly in the first 3 stages of purusharthas, of your goals of life. Artha, dharma, and kama. Remember, the last stage is moksha, after the first 3 stages. So artha and dharma, it mostly gets done in dharma. Dharma is virtue, being wise, being stable, being concentrated. The work gets mostly done in the first 3 stages. When it comes to moksha, rules change, guys. What that means is that the thinking about how to handle reality changes. Before the interest of moksha was there, the handling of reality was about working on yourself, purification. when you're ready for moksha, that idea has to go, because that purification belongs to what? Vikaraha, modification. And there is never you cannot have purity in mithya, because it's always ongoing. There's always new, fresh things coming up. So that means by the time I purify, there's a new modification which is going to cause me to go, oh, I need to purify this also. So that means moksha, you need to accept a very important fact, and that is you need to let go of this idea that I need to, quote, purify. Because what are you purifying? You're purifying the 5 koshas. You're purifying the cloud. But the cloud is modification. It's always new. It's always fresh. And not only that, but the vasana or the samskara, they belong to the causal body. Anandamaya kosha. Who said subconscious mind? We don't, we don't use that though. We just say causal body. Okay. See, they belong to the causal body, and the causal body belongs to, like everything, belongs to Ishwara. You didn't create your subconscious mind, did you? Like, what did we create here? Nothing. We're just aware of the creation, but we didn't create the creation. You see? So that means that because it belongs to Ishwara, and because the field, it's another way to say what Ishwara is, the field is always full of thoughts. That means these thoughts are always pervading the causal body. So there's always new apparent samskaras coming up. A person clears one samskara, a new one comes. And they're like, oh my God, there's so much work to do. That's very common in the in the self-help world, is they're just I'm working on myself. There's so much to work on. It never ends. That's why I say with moksha, the rules need to change. You need to understand, yes, there are a whole bunch of seemingly negative, and let's not even label them. There are some conditions, but so what? They're never going to stop, because it belongs to vikaraha. It belongs to the modifications. So I need to understand, as we will get to what the solution is, that first of all, nobody ever in history of mankind completely exhausted their samskaras, ever. What's the logic behind that? Because whether you have knowledge or not, it doesn't matter. As long as the body is alive, it's going to be acting. And when it creates action, naturally it's going to have consequences. It's going to create effects. And effects are naturally going to cause, responsibilities in the world. So that means that as long as the body is alive, you're just not getting rid of samskaras ever. So that's why I say we need to get rid of this idea of purifying. Even though there is an aspect of purifying, which I will get to. Okay, so now the correct understanding is like this. First of all, that samskara is a vikaraha. Vikaraha means modification, just like anything else. I said in the bubble, no matter what, even a thought or a feeling or the eye sense, all of that is a vikaraha. Okay, so the understanding is that is also a vikaraha, the samskara. And wherever there is a modification, wherever there is mithya, that's exactly where there is satya. Because we said in the beginning, consciousness inheres in the entire bubble. So that means wherever there is a jumper, that's where there is the wool. Wherever there is a thought of impurity, that's exactly where you are, consciousness. You know why? Because you're aware of that. In that aspect, you are. You see what I mean? So that means no matter what emotion or feeling you have, because consciousness also inheres in that, that's why you're aware of that. That awareness is consciousness. It's called Atman. Okay, so hence so then we have, so wherever there is consciousness, that comes in a form of awareness of filling the blank. Awareness of knowledge. awareness of, whatever the vikara is, awareness of the thought, awareness of not knowing, awareness of knowing, awareness of driving, awareness of sleeping, awareness of dreaming, awareness of coming here, awareness of not coming here, awareness of eating, awareness of talking, whatever it is. Awareness stays the same. The object or the vikara changes. That's what we said. The invariable is awareness. So that means all we're doing is we're shifting that I from the vikara, from the changing to the non-changing. See, this is just a nice picture which just gives it away. This is, you could say, a jiva, an ignorant person, and they think they're apart from the whole, but they're not. So all we're doing is just removing that false notions that I'm not already the whole. You see, so that means I'm shifting, you're shifting the I from the vikara to the non-changing reality, which is consciousness, and which is in a form of awareness of whatever you can think of. Remember that experiment when I said with you guys? I said, imagine going to the furthest reaches of space, and there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Test question. Is that true? Why not? Huh? Yeah, you're there. That's right. You see what I mean? How would you say there's nothing there unless you're there to report there's nothing there? That's what they mean when they say, wherever I go, there I am. That's the the wisdom quote. So what does that mean? That means there is no place that I cannot be, because whatever I tell you, I'm aware of that. And that awareness is awareness of filling the blank.
That's why I like that idea of no thing being the opposite of something.
Yeah.
As opposed to nothing.
That's right. So you're even aware of nothing. That's why you say there's nothing.
Yeah.
What do you think about? Nothing. Yeah. What's deep sleep? What's in deep sleep? No one's going to tell me, oh, there's objects in deep... No one's going to tell me there's nothing in deep sleep. So that means awareness of even nothing. Okay, so moksha, hence...
So nothing exists, but it isn't something.
Yeah, see, even nothing is still something. So even no thought is just the awareness of the absence of a thought. Okay, so moksha is recognizing I am that non-changing reality, which is awareness of, which is never acquiring attributes. See that? It never acquires attributes. Because if it did, it wouldn't be able to distinguish another, because it will now be overlaid by the previous attribute. So it will be looking through the world through the eyes of the attribute which it was contaminated by. So that means it's always free of every attribute. That's consciousness. Okay, so now let's go into another mistake. And that is to say, I am God. I am Ishwara. That's not true. That's a wrong perspective. So we have to look at it from, like I said in the beginning, Ishwara is the macrocosm. In the macrocosm are little Ishwaras, the little individuals, minions, how do you call them? Walking around, and they're called individual, human beings. So those human beings are just like a wave. They're all parts of the whole. You see? So a wave cannot claim it's the whole, because Ishwara means all knowledge and all power. It's the all knowledge and all power that not only created that wave, but it also created every other wave. You see?
So you can properly say I am part of Ishwara.
You can say that, yeah. The cause of this body, of this five koshas, is Ishwara. And the truth of Ishwara is consciousness, yeah. So it always goes back to consciousness. Okay, so we're clear why we cannot say I am Ishwara? Ishwara is the macrocosm, all knowledge, all power of everything. And we are just one little creation of, when I say we, I mean a person, a physical body, is one little creation of Ishwara. Just like out of the whole ocean being Ishwara, distinct waves are simply jivas, people. You see? So no wave can claim it's the entire ocean, because it's not. Okay. The other worthy mention is, if it's too simple, then, it's not it. If the methodology presented is too simple, or if this sounds too simple, it cannot be this simple, that you're missing something. The reason is because the mind's natural inclination is to make things complicated. So it creates a lot of entanglements in the mind. That's why when someone says, the world is so complex, you cannot describe the world, the universe, it's too complex. No. That's just a projection, it's called jiva srishti, onto the universe, because their mind is complex, so they're projecting that complexity onto the world. So in Vedanta, we just simply untangle those knots, and very few things are mysterious here. Because what I said at the beginning, microcosm replicates the macrocosm, so it's almost impossible to go, I don't understand the whole picture. Because if consciousness inheres in the entire cloud, then how can you say it's mysterious? It's just a matter of knowing it's everywhere. Consciousness is everywhere. So what is there to say it's mysterious? I'm not talking about experience, by the way. I'm not saying the wise person is all knowing because they're pervading the whole universe. I'm not talking about that.
Potential for knowledge.
No, not even potential. I'm just saying, see, a wise person is just a wave, like any other wave. The only difference between an ignorant wave and a wise wave is the wise wave just simply knows, hey, consciousness is everywhere, and I am that. That's it. There's nothing after that, literally. So let's say a clever wave goes up to another wave and says, no, there's much more to know. Let me tell you how much more there is. We say, yes, but that too is pervaded by consciousness. You see, so there's no mystery there. Okay, so now let's go on to the world. Some common mistakes thought about the world. And one of the mistakes is to say that, okay, well, everything is thus inert, everything is dead, it's insentient, because consciousness is the only principle that is alive. So therefore, I'm just going to stay in the self. Abide in the self, and just reject reality, reject the world. Because it's all dead, it's all pervaded by consciousness. And I am consciousness only, I am alive. Another mistake, because that's another dualistic notion. You see, there is no place where consciousness is not. So to correct that, we'll say wherever seemingly dead form, like a piece of paper, wherever seemingly dead form, that's exactly where all knowledge and all power is. You see the 5 elements? I put with all knowledge and all power. It says material and knowledge. This is a material. It's made out of something. The 5 elements. And once again I said the molecules are put in a certain permutation to create a wood and not a rock. So there's an intelligence. No matter what level you go, when you go molecules, atoms, particles, there's an intelligence that put each one of those levels intelligently together to create the next hierarchy down. You see?
Anything with form requires intelligence.
Exactly. That's what we're saying. So for example, here a rock formation is intelligently created by the permutations of the 5 elements. Or as I said with the H2O, with water, it's just put together with the molecular structure to create water. And then the human beings go and study what's provided for them by Ishwara. Okay, so let's correct this notion of everything's inert. Everything is pervaded by Ishwara, which is all knowledge and all power. And the truth of Ishwara is? Consciousness, yeah. Everything is pervaded, including the one who's rejecting the world. That also is pervaded by the intelligence of Ishwara. And the truth of Ishwara, the nature of Ishwara is consciousness. How does this, okay, so now a common question. Now, how does all of this knowledge change me as a person living on earth, as a normal life? Working, kids, wife, friends, how? What happens? First of all, by seeing that every form is pervaded by this all knowledge and all power, which is intelligence, in all things, you start to treat them differently. Because before they were just inert. Oh, it's just a rock. You know, who cares? It's just a rock. It's dead. But now we know a rock is also pervaded by all knowledge and all power. Ishwara, who this body and this one who's rejecting the rock is also made of. So we start to treat things differently. Thus the relationship to things changes. You see? Automatically, just by having this knowledge. That's why we say we don't give you a bunch of mandates, you should and you shouldn't. But we give you an understanding, because the mind is not going to buy the superstitious beliefs. You know, you need to back it up with proper reasoning, logic. Okay, so thus not seeing any more mindlessly anything as dead form. A common example is to say, oh, you know, I'm self-realized. Why are these people praying to, you know, these dead statues? What's the point? You're just wasting your time. You're praying to a bunch of atoms. They're just atoms put together and you pray. Why? See, the point is these are forms. And what is a form made of? Ishwara. And the truth of Ishwara is consciousness. So all of these forms, all of these deities are just a symbol of you, of consciousness. You see? So that in that way, the attitude changes towards prayer and actually worshiping things. That means you can worship anything, because now you know everything is pervaded by that great intelligence, including that intelligence, all power and all knowledge, which is going to grace one with permanent knowledge. Ishwara. What we're saying is you cannot escape Ishwara. Everything is given to you as a person by Ishwara. So avoiding, so in other words, all it's saying is the whole life, whether this person is wise or not, is spent in forms. It doesn't matter if they know who they are or not. It doesn't matter, because they still need to participate with the world. They still need, you know, to survive. They still need to deal with other people. They're still dealing with forms. So the understanding simply changes. It's a more of a graceful gratitude rather than pushing things as if they're apart. You cannot, a jumper cannot reject the sleeve, can it? No, because the sleeve is of the same substance as is the jumper. Yeah. Okay. What do we have here? Okay, 2 mistakes of a Vedantin. 2 more mistakes now. Okay. The first one is to keep, it's very common, to keep this knowledge, this knowledge of who I am, the self, in the intellect. What's wrong with that? What's that going to lead to? If we try to sort of hold it as an affirmation, I am consciousness, I'm never changing, I'm never changing, I'm never changing, I'm never changing. What's the problem with that?
Separateness.
Huh?
You started to generate a separateness idea?
Not only that, but also that is an intellect. And where does intellect belong? Mithya. Changing. So that means if one gets this and they try to hold it in their intellect, because the intellect is also a vikaraha, changing, that means it's eventually the intensity of, quote, getting it is going to subside. And they're going to say, I said this last week, they're going to feel like they lost it. Yeah. So that's why moksha is not about some kind of an idea and an affirmation. I'm it. It's just an understanding that comes as we're teaching you now. You see? By removing false notions about what reality actually isn't. And then all that's revealed is what reality actually is. That's why I said, Vedanta is, last week, praptasya prapti. It's already, you're discovering what's already accomplished. You as a conscious, you are already accomplished. There's nothing to accomplish with consciousness, because you're always aware, right? So there's no need to get awareness. There's no need to get existence, because you already exist. And existence is consciousness. You see, so it's just a matter of accepting my existence is it. That's it. Consciousness mixed with 5 koshas. And the koshas are going to remain. So it's not about trying to get rid of the body, trying to get rid of the thoughts, trying to get rid of ideas. Just knowing that wherever there's an idea, it's pervaded by you. in a form of awareness of that idea. You see, so you're always present. And moksha, therefore, is just simply accepting that awareness is it. Yeah. Okay, the other one is, okay, so we're clear with the problem with holding the thought in the variable.
So just explain trying to sustain peace as an analogy for that.
Hey?
It says e.g. trying to sustain peace.
Yeah, sure. In the yoga world, let's not use that. Okay, let's just say a typical meditator who has his little corner and, has a very strict procedure to be kind of separate from the world. So they need that. They're dependent on their environment. Yeah? They're dependent on not meditating on the bus stop, choosing to meditate in the forest instead. Okay, so that means there's a dependence on the world. So that means not only, and the world is what? A thought. And a thought is also a vikaraha. So therefore, they're depending not only on on the world, but they're also depending on their own thoughts to sustain that peace. Because you need to have a thought of this is peaceful. Right? And that thought also is going to change. So this is not about holding a peaceful, attitude. It's just about having this knowledge and still being okay with whatever the turbulations of life occur. You see? So that's what I say, moksha, you have to change your attitude. It's no longer about being, peaceful and spacing myself away from the world. It's just accepting wherever there is a vikaraha, that's exactly where there is consciousness. That's it. Desires. Okay, this is the other one. Very, very common. Quote, I need to get rid of my desires in order to contact the invariable. That's the certain yogas have this analogy to purify the mind, vasanas, all of them, or maybe not all of them.
The desire to get rid of desire.
That's a very common, very common. And then once that happens, only then I'm going to make contact. But what's wrong with that? What did we say at the beginning? Consciousness inheres in everything, all the time. It's never not present. So that means consciousness in a noisy mind is still there. That's how you say, I have a noisy mind. That awareness of, that's you. And then you say, I have a clear mind. Awareness of, clear mind. That awareness of is you. You see? So in Vedanta, you just simply recognize I am that awareness that's always aware of whatever it is that's going on in the mind. So, okay, so let's talk about trying to get rid of desires. For example, let's say impurity, like I am not pure enough, right? And so I need to purify myself. So what happens is the I who's making that statement believes they're the vikaraha, the change. And they're dumping that change onto Atman, which is free of vikaraha. You see the error? Mm-hmm. So now they try to purify themselves, which is a vikaraha. Because see the problem with mistaken identity? So the mistaken identity is I am the changing. And the impurities belong to the changing. But in reality, you're not the changing. You're the non-changing. Okay, so let's go into the order of this to give you a logic. So I am, this is how they will speak. I am impure, which belongs to 5 koshas of the 3 bodies. The mind is impure. It's gotten its stuff from parents, from the media, from different notions. It doesn't matter where. So that mind is impure. And because I believe I am that mind, I go, I am impure. So I tries to eliminate that impurity through different modalities. NLP, hypnosis, whatever it is. But that I is actually pure Atman. But he doesn't know it. You see? So believing the I is going to be purified by performing the action of purification. But you cannot, because consciousness is already free. That means no matter how much action you perform, you're not going to get anywhere. It's just a matter of understanding who the I is. And purification itself is a vikaraha. Why? Because you have a little bit of purification, a lot of purification. You see, that's an easy barometer. Anything that has a variable to it, that changes, has an intensity, instantly, it's anatman, not self. It's the vikaraha. Yeah. So even when they purify, they go, oh, but I've got more purification to do. No. So the problem is the eye is in the wrong place. And we need to shift that eye to the non-changing invariable. Okay, so we've covered... All right, here's one more. Okay, so the variable desires... Okay, so in actuality, what that person doesn't know, in actuality, what they don't know is that the variable, the purity, which is the variable, and their desires to purify belongs to the mithya, but it can't touch Atman. It can't touch Satya, because Satya is always free. See, the world is always free of whatever shape this jumper takes. This jumper can even burn. Well, actually, that's not a good example. Let's say that water can totally displace itself even away from the ocean, but it's still water. So even water that's lost, think it's apart from the whole, it's still water. Yeah.
Or even salt water and fresh water is still the water, which is different.
It's called water, yeah. We don't put extra complications. So in other words, what that person was talking about, this person who's trying to purify, what they don't know is they need to work on. So you don't need to manipulate those desires to know Atman, because what is invariable is always invariable. What is non-changing is always non-changing and always present no matter what. Okay? Now, here's the yes part. I said you don't need to work on your desires, right? Or your samskaras. Here's the yes part. If you don't work on those desires, then what's going to happen? We're going to have a hard time discriminating the real from the unreal, because the mind's too rajasic. Too much noise to discern clearly who am I, who is the non-changing as myself, and what is changing here. You see the problem? So we need to purify our minds. That's why we have sadhana. That's why we have yoga. All of these things are just to purify the mind. But the problem is people stay too long in yoga, so they just keep purifying forever. They have to move on. Because moksha, see, the game of moksha, it's no longer the whole purification. It still is, because you need a pure mind and intellect to discern clearly the self from the non-self, you see? Okay. So that's... Okay, so the other extreme is to put the attention on the invariable. I'm the self, I'm consciousness. Ignoring the variable. This is, you could call it it's people who escape the world, in subtle ways. Maybe stop talking to parents or friends or whatever it is. Because it's all variable, right? It's all just mithya, so I'm just going to stay away from that. I'm just going to concentrate on on that which is invariable. It doesn't work like that, you see, because that's another dualistic phenomena. Once again, and the way the world is organized, and it's really good that it's organized this way, is we cannot see the distinction between the variable and the invariable, the real from the unreal, unless the mind is totally clear. Just like, it's very easy, it's nothing mysterious about it. It's just like a child who is very disturbed in the moment by anger or some emotion, cannot see clearly. Same with an adult. You need a pure mind, rational, intellectual, and balanced with the emotion. Same thing. So that's why it's not just about saying, it's just impurity that belongs to mithya, and you just focus back on the invariable. No, you still need to work on it constantly. So there's always that yes and a no. Okay. So now let's summarize this entire as a practical application. The key to Vedanta is to understand what is invariable, non-changing, always present, awareness of, and which never changes to the variable. That's key. What is permanently non-changing is always non-changing, and it's never going to change. And until you're so clear about the distinction between changing and non-changing, that we don't need to consciously do the discrimination anymore. That is called moksha. Before that, it's called stage 5, which we'll cover in Vidyaranya's Panchadasi, which is called direct self-knowledge, but it's still not moksha. Moksha is where it's effortless, because you already are that. You see the difference? So once again, the key is to know who you are as the invariable principle, which is always aware of and have total clarity around that, and amidst that, participate in the variable that is in the world. Whatever it is, kids, wife, husband, whatever it is. But never losing sight of the invariable. That's what a wise person knows. But they don't say it, because they don't need to say it. All right. Let's cover a denial mistake. This is denying. This is going to help us further. Well, let's just not deny the body or the mind. So this is how not to use Vedanta. And that is to say, okay, well, since Ishwara is the cause of all thoughts, body, both positive and negative, it's all thus Ishwara, which I have nothing to do with. None of it is mine. So I'm just going to do nothing. That's another possibility. Because it is all, I mean, you could look at it from an objective. It is all Ishwara. So I didn't create my issues. I didn't create my problems, my addictions. If I chose to, I would have not become XYZ. Right? So it's not mine. Why should I bother with it? I was like dumped this stuff onto my mind and intellect. It doesn't work like that. Because if one has that attitude, then see, even the good stuff is given to you by Ishwara. Even the ability to enjoy criticizing, if it's enjoyable, even that ability is given by Ishwara. Okay, so the purpose, so what a Vedantin must know is the purpose of the scriptures, this is what the totality of all the scriptures are saying, is that everything is here a manifestation of Ishwara. Even the Vedanta, even the knowledge given to rishis is given by Ishwara. And the truth of Ishwara is consciousness, yeah. That's all.
Which is no, that's what I was meaning before about the something and the no thing. It's both.
Yeah. Yeah. See, it has a context, yeah. So they make sense. Okay, trying. Okay, so in other words, so the error is trying to disown the body and the mind, because after all, it's the 5 koshas, it's not I. So the error is not I, my thoughts, intellect, addictions, not I. Just ignore it. No. Let's see what it says. The solution is, this is how we can look at it. I am, that the awareness of the I am, that's Atman. Yes, I am much more than the body and the mind. Okay, we all agree with that. As awareness, you're not just the body and mind. There's, awareness is everything. Everything is consciousness. So I am much bigger than the body and the mind, no doubt. And the body and the mind is not independent of me, awareness. So what does this mean? Is this jumper independent of the wool? No. So your body is not independent of Atman, consciousness. But you are not modified or influenced or contaminated by 5 koshas. Okay, so I'm going to say this again. Is the wool contaminated by the jumper? No. Why? Because the wool can take on many other different forms. You see? So it's always free of the form that it takes. So let's tie that in here. The solution is, yes, I am, okay, the wool, so that's what the wool is saying now. The wool is much bigger than the jumper. Clear? Because the wool can also take many other forms. And the jumper is not independent of the wool. That's true also. And because wherever there is mithya, wherever there is form, that's exactly where there is Satya. Wherever there is Mithya, that's where there's Satya. Wherever there is wool, there is jumper. So that's how we make this little correction. In other words, wherever there is a wave, that's exactly where there is water, H2O, which comprises not only the entire ocean, but also every single wave. That's what we mean by the water is inheres in Ishwara, which is the entire ocean, but also inheres in Vikaraha, which is the totality of the ocean's waves, including the trees, the birds, cats, dogs, everything. Okay. So that means there is no question of neglecting or denying the body, because the body, as I just said, is a Vikaraha, and the cause of a Vikaraha is Ishwara, and the truth of Ishwara is consciousness. It always goes back to consciousness. And this is what a wise person knows. And the one who doesn't, they're becoming wise. See? So there's nothing mystical about these wise people. It's just simple clarity about what is. Okay, so now let's talk about the secret, or it's not secret, it's just living Vedanta. We're just going to put this in a practical form. Okay, so the era is to focus on just one. Either the form, the changing, this is what the state of the world is, 99, I don't know how many percent, mostly focusing on the changes of the world. So that's why everyone's talking about stories, sharing, their family, what happened at work, just always stories. That's all Vikaraha. If we just focus on that, that's a problem. If we just focus on the invariable, that's another problem. Because then we're denying the form, and the form is Ishwara, and Ishwara gives you the ability to deny. Focusing on both, so that's the solution, on the invariable and the variable. And that's what we call being alive to what is. Because if we're focusing on just one, then you're not alive to what is. Why? Because we're missing out the other. We're missing out the reality of Satya, or we're missing out the reality of Mithya. Yeah. So now, let's put this in two ways to look at it. They both follow the same order. One is change. In other words, change that which is necessary within as a person. If there is a certain skill that needs to get built or develop it. What's wrong with that? Because it's necessary. The world demands it. The world needs it from you. But never confuse the invariable amidst your work of changing. So that means change where you need to change, but amongst that change, never lose sight of consciousness, of the awareness of that change. Yeah. The other way to say it is know the invariable, awareness of, while appreciating and participating in the variable. See how beautiful that is? Just know the invariable, know awareness of, but despite that, participate fully with gratitude in the variable. Because the variable is caused of Ishwara, all knowledge, all power, which is giving you everything, graced you with everything, even including knowledge to get this, including the clarity to get this, including Vedanta, all of that is Ishwara. So why wouldn't we want to appreciate that grace? Okay. And hence see Ishwara in, because we just discussed, seeing Ishwara in everything, because everything is a cause caused by Ishwara. Everything is an effect of the cause. Okay. So let's get a little cautionary note is, actually it's not such, I don't think we're going to make this, I don't see it in this class, is that there's this tendency, for example, just to put things like, like down under, like there's an intelligence and everything, like a hierarchy. You see, so we put intelligence at either up there or down there, and it's like pervading from the bottom up or pervading from the top to bottom. It's not like that. All knowledge and all power is, there's no place where it's not. That's what Advaita means. Yeah, so just a little note there. Okay, and finally, the Satya-Mithya, this Satya and Mithya relationship, Satya is consciousness, Mithya is changing, has to, this is how we know if Vedanta is having an effect, a proper change in our lives, in our daily, day-to-day actions. It needs to have a corresponding actions. So if we learn, for example, here that, okay, everything is Ishwara, and by that nature, there should be an attitude of appreciation. But if we go out in the world and we're, still, I don't know, I'm not appreciating things and still treating everyone as they're different, and then, it's not working. Then one has to step back and say, how can I integrate, how can I use this knowledge in my normal day-to-day actions in life? Yeah.
So when you're in your awareness, it's obviously quite easy to appreciate something when it's benign or positive. Yeah. But when you've got something that's you've got an aversion to, or something that's clearly on the negative side of the spectrum, how do you then become appreciative of that without having
you've got two choices.
Without that feeling of aversion and
well, see, that's the part where I said you want to make the change when necessary, right? One very clear way is, I've already discussed this in previous classes, you can reframe it. Look at it from a different angle. Like, and there's an aversion towards something. Let's say I do not like a particular race of person. Then I can question, like, what is it? What's the cause of this? How else can I look at this in a way, in a manner which maybe looks at them in a more better light? Or in which other ways could I see this? Or what else am I potentially missing that if I were to include, I would, simply change my point of view? So you start to inquire.
But if you've got moksha, you wouldn't need to do that, would you? Like, it wouldn't really...
Oh, okay, see, yeah. Okay, so see, there's no difference, I said before. There's no suddenly, like, suddenly the world is different. Like, oh, I'm smoking 100 cigarettes, who cares now? You see, there's still, because what is satya? Love. Now, would love just want to ignore something like that clearly is not, corresponding with the attribute of love? Because having an aversion towards something, that doesn't sound like love, does it? There's a distortion there. There's an addition of my own stuff wallpapered or placed over that object.
But that's easy to see something which is in the negative realm, which you can quite clearly see the stupidity or the negativity and how it can be turned into positive, and love it for that process. But if you see something that is like, I'm just trying to think of something a bit more aversion, child abuse, something that's really sort of inherently, deeply giving a true feeling of objection and because you can't identify with that, because you just can't frame it in any other way other than something that's negative and bad and
so it's just a part. It seems like a part of
the whole point of evil, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to. How do you then love evil?
Okay. Well, see, that one won't even arrive to that, because that's part of dharma, artha, and kama. So that's going to get resolved by itself through the course of their life. Someone like this is not even going to arrive to moksha, because moksha is too far of a stretch.
How do you not react to something like that?
Well, then we're talking about solutions. We can, like I said, reframing, writing it out, having a conversation to yourself about it, looking at it in a different way. Or if someone else has got a different, way of addressing.
But is that then not just ignoring something as opposed to responding?
No, because you're addressing it.
In a conscious way to something.
You're working with it. It's clearly there. Why would I want to deny it? Mm-hmm. So that means I want to look at it in a more loving way, because it's still an obstruction. It's still.
So that's the point. You're not turning away from it.
You're not. No. Because see, turning away is denial.
Yeah.
And we just discussed that's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no such thing as denial. Get back to your question. See, moksha.
So you're not getting angry, and you're not turning away. So this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're working with it as lovingly. It's just, okay, it needs to get addressed. Let's address it. But it doesn't really make a difference. But I still wish to address it. So moksha is not about, there's these problems, so I'm just going to, put them aside because they're mithya. No, I can still work with, but the relationship to that is different. What is the relationship that's different?
That's what I meant by, if you had moksha, your relationship with it would be it wouldn't necessarily drag you down? Or
That's right. So see, even relation is a little bit tricky word because it's like, oh, there's that and there's me. Okay, it's like, because see, if we say everything is not two, there is no particular identification as anyone's trying to fix that. It's almost like automatic. It's just spontaneously dissolving by not only through self-knowledge, but also because there is no invested interest to make it work. Because so what, right? It's like, it's not even so what. There is no concern like before. Before it's like, I am this problem, so I need to fix this. Otherwise, I won't be happy. This time it's okay. It's there, and why not? Let's address it. Let's resolve it. But it doesn't concern. There's no. It's not making me sway off. It's not causing me to lose track of my nature. It's not destroying my happiness. Because I'm going to use the relationship actually, because the relationship is clearly understood. I never lose track of the invariable, but I still address the variable. Because if I deny it, then I'm denying myself.
And I guess that then brings me to the next point. I get that, that's perfect. But then how do you express your awareness regarding that relationship? In terms of when you want, it's one thing to be impressed by it and be still,
yeah.
But then when you're called on to have an expression about it, that's then when you have to be you then go automatically you end up in an emotive or a
how you express it.
Yeah, I mean, just to go back to that. I'm trying to think of something that's obviously disturbing, which is going to try and pull you away from that awareness and consciousness. And love.
Yeah, but see, if it's so disturbing, one, it's not even going to be thinking about consciousness. You know what I mean? So, see, this when it comes to moksha, you got to have already gone through all of that. So that still belongs to the first three stages: dharma, artha, and kama. Yeah. So for that you can find a psychology. That where the psychologists are perfect. All these modalities that are available, that's perfect. Yeah. And there's many methods. I'm sure you guys know some methods as to how to clear terrible emotions. It takes time. That's for sure. Yeah.
It's very difficult not to get drawn into other people's anger and emotive states when they're trying to vocalize something or express something and draw you into that conversation.
Okay.
To then maintain that presence of consciousness.
Okay, see, that's not
sound like you're just ignoring the whole thing.
Yeah? No. Okay, so there's a relationship change. Before knowledge, that kind of situation is going to get to me because it's agitating my mind, and I am the mind, so it's agitating me. This time, it's not agitating because it's agitating the mind, but not me. And not only that, but the one to come to self-knowledge, they have to done already the purification of their mind that it's not triggering their vasanas. It's not triggering them because they know everything is intelligence. And because before they took it personally, but now they just see it's an expression of Ishwara. It's just another wave. So the relation and the understanding, there's a more of a, you could say, compassionate relationship to those who are dumping their stuff. It's like, great, I love it. It's just nice, but it doesn't bother me. It's like you absolutely have the right to say what you want to say, but there's no agitation. Yeah. So the relationship, it's a very simple way to say is the mirage on the desert, where the father and the son, they see a water. What you call that? Oasis, a water oasis, and the son, the analogy of an ignorant person, he sees the oasis, and the son runs to the oasis, fully involved, and emotions there, everything's there. But the father doesn't move. He also sees the oasis, but he doesn't move. What's the difference? The father is a wise person. Knowledge. That's right. So they both see, you could say, an Ishwara-generated image. They both see the same tree. They both see their bodies. But the son is, because the knowledge is not there, he's acting in accordance to satisfy me. You see, because the body wants to get the water, so I'm satisfying myself, but the Father knows that's created, but that's not that's not real. So the relationship changes. Okay. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. May all be happy, may all be free from illness, may all behold good things, may no one suffer.